Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Michaela Peters. I like that my glasses match my sweatshirt, but I'm going to take them off anyway since I'm used to doing these videos without glasses on. Yeah, people keep asking me if I'm styling my hair to flip up like this. No, it just doesn't naturally, which is great because I love a haircut where I don't have to do my hair, especially now when I have no time for anything. It was attack of the emails, and it literally just took me a full day to get through all my emails, and it was terrible. Anyway, what I want to talk about today, because I said I would talk about this, and I feel like I have already talked about this, but we're going to talk about it again, is talking about job seeking in Finland versus the US. Why am I going to talk about this? It feels relevant. So, right now, something that's happening is the economy is not doing so hot. Considering it's about 5 years after COVID's inception, more than that, and about 3 years after really its ultimate downturn. That sounds like downturn. I don't like the connotation with that because it makes it seem like COVID ending was a bad thing. I guess it depends on who you are, but what is, all right, I just got a weird email. I don't understand what that's about. Whatever. Okay. So, yeah, attack of the emails. When you're an adult, you need to make sure you're paying all your bills. And because in America, we're so consumerism, there tend to be a ton more bills you need to pay attention to than just the primary ones. So there's that. And then coupled with the fact that, I manage 2 places that I live. So let's make this more confusing. Okay. So really what I want to talk about today is, again, this job thing. So, again, we kind of knew. All right, here's how it works, right? And people can disagree with me. By the way, I do super love reading all of the comments underneath my videos, even though I don't respond to them, so thank you. Even the ones where I think this video is so stupid and nobody's going to respond to it, I still am getting responses, so that is super great. Okay, now, there's an understanding that the U.S. economy affects the global economy. Now, the issue during COVID is that the government was pumping a ton of money to artificially stimulate the economy. The U.S. economy does well on account of the fact that there is a big push for consumer spending. It was really cool for a lot of people. It really gave them access to being able to do a lot of things that they never were able to do, like have free time and have more consumer spending ability than usual. This kind of makes sense considering certain consumer spending is cut, unintentionally. It's pretty hard to go to a restaurant during COVID as often as you would during not COVID. Not impossible, but it was annoying and difficult. And, you're going to dedicate that to other things, maybe more necessary bills first, and then you're oh, I have this money left over. Maybe that's what was happening. I don't know. I kind of made that up, but that sounds likely. Now, again, this starts affecting the rest of the world. The thing is, housing is getting very crazy and out of control in the US. I don't hear this being as much of a thing people complain about in Finland, but the thing that people complain about in Finland is getting a job. Now, how can you pay rent without a job, especially if you're not a Kela rat or whatever, as they call it? That's a great question, and this is really one of the primary issues that is plaguing the international students who come there and want to stay there, and they think they have these opportunities for job prospects, which they really don't. And this is a common complaint that I hear from a lot of people I keep in touch with. I kudos to my one friend, and I mentioned this actually in the taking supplements video, and I'm going to drop this link again below, but he started his own business with a supplement. Yeah, I was wanting to try the supplement, but again, the whole I need to wait till I'm, done breastfeeding kind of situation. Yeah, there's that. So, kind of, in some respects, I will be excited when that's over, even though, it's a very interesting experience. Anyway, that's irrelevant. But, so, I do want to try the supplement myself, but the point is, I think it's awesome that this dude basically created a business from scratch, and, that has been one of the ways that he's been able to, support himself staying in Finland, in addition to, other things that he's been doing, side jobs. So, it's really cool, I think, that Finland, has this culture and this desire to really promote entrepreneurship. I love that. But the problem with entrepreneurship is it's not always very, stable paycheck. So it's sort of difficult to make that your primary source of income if you do not immediately succeed with it. So anyway, I do think it's awesome, and I'm really supportive of and excited for people who can make it work, but like it comes with risks. That's all I'm trying to say. And you know, there's risk aversion, there's risk tolerance. Like you have to define where you lie on that spectrum. And also, as the Bible says, calculating the cost. So like if you can swing it financially to do all this like extra stuff, cool. Like I'm very like, I love entrepreneuring on the side of having like stable income. That's like a me thing, but I know not everybody's like that. So like it really like depends on the person. So going back to like the whole job thing. So like my experience has been, so like the job I've been working now, I've had since 2022. And I had a job in Finland in between that in 2023. And because I was an intern, I got converted full time, whatever, blah, blah. But the other thing with the Finland job, which was a master's thesis worker position, first off, I made that job. And this is the thing that whenever you go to all the academia related career orientation type of programming, they're going to talk to you about the hidden job market, which is like you networking and you finding a job and them kind of either making you a job or like giving you a job that they're not going to post, but it exists. So essentially that was kind of what I did, was like I just networked a lot, and then eventually I was like, hey, I'm looking for a position, and then this guy was like, well, what do you want to do it on? And I was like, well, these are my skills, I could do it on something related to this. And he's like, okay, you're hired. So like he just brought me on even though that job was not posted anywhere and it was like not really an existent job. And I was lucky because I got to stay in Lappeenranta. So you know, looking back, I remember being so upset about that. Like I was, honestly, it was winter. I was really depressed. I was so sick of being in Lappeenranta. I just wanted to go to Helsinki. I just wanted to like start over. And then I got stuck in Lappeenranta. And then I actually ended up making friends once I had that job. But like things got better once I got that job. It's actually kind of like weird. I never really thought about it. But the beginning of having that job was rough. I'm not going to lie. By the time I left that job, I was like so sad and so upset to leave Finland, which again is why I'm there half the time. But yes, so I would not say stuff like that happens in the US nearly as much as it happens in Finland. Like Finland seems to be very like free form and like abstract when it comes to like, let's just make jobs. In the US, I think it's a lot more like structured and like has to fit into a box, especially when we're talking about companies and like larger corporations, which it's probably the same way with larger corporations in Finland, but because to like come to think of it, this was a smaller company. But yeah, anyway, the whole thing is like for each of these respective positions, like I applied for an intern position that I got in 2022. I started applying in October. I found it and was like confirmed into it by like February. And then with the with this master's thesis worker position, I started looking pretty hardcore, like October, November, and I found this position from Slush, and it got confirmed by like beginning of February. So like again, like same timeline. So my point is like, you know, oh, it's so much harder to find a job in Finland. Like, oh, it's so much easier to find a job in the US. My experience was that like it was exactly as difficult as each other to find a job in each place. So now this begs the question, well, if it's so easy for you to find a job in Finland, why don't you just go find a job in Finland? And as I keep explaining to people, it is a lot easier to take all of your US expenses and subsidize them with a US salary and your Finnish expenses with that US salary than to do this in the reverse order. So this is currently like the biggest issue, is that as I've explained, I have very expensive US like recurring costs that like I cannot get rid of, which mostly include like a car, a home. If you want to include the fact that your cell phone bill costs twice as much, this is why I don't have a cell phone bill in Finland, and I just act like I'm poor and just use Wi-Fi everywhere. It's a very common international person thing to do, in case you didn't know that, but yeah, I do that. And that's why I don't answer my phone half the time. Plus, the only reason you need constant access to your phone is like once you have a child, making sure the child's okay, and my child's always with me in Finland, so therefore irrelevant. Okay, I digress, as usual. Now, yeah, I have been thinking a lot more about like would I want to try looking for jobs in Finland, and I have. You know, I went to Slush, and the contact forum. I haven't gone to Slush since I got pregnant. Yeah, actually though. But have I gone to the contact forum since? No, I haven't gone to the contact forum since before that also. Okay, well anyway, the contact forum, I did my market research, as I call it, for talking to different companies about like theoretically how much money would you pay me. And I understand that like on the high end of like salaries in Finland, you're looking at like something in the 3K range. And then we get into like your tax brackets are higher. In the US, you know, it's like, oh yeah, you know, good job, you're making like 7K a month. you're not anywhere near seeing any of that 7K. You probably see like half of that, I would say, because you have to think about, like, I just signed up for health insurance, and it's like I'm gonna have to pay like $300 a pay period. That's like $600 a month. It's like thousands of dollars by the time it's the end of the year. I think it takes like 20% of my paycheck just to have health insurance. It's disgusting. So health insurance is a problem. What is the other problem? Oh, and then your what goes to your like 401k and your retirement and all that fun stuff, life insurance, all that, even though my life insurance policy is outside of my job, but yes. Anyway, I don't know. These are just the comparison thing. So again, I don't know if it's as hard. Again, we're talking like some years back. Like I luckily like cleared these things in like 2022, 2023 timeframe. I'm a little bit like hesitant to like move things around too much at this point. I think it's just like, you know, I was in school for so long and like entertaining different opportunities for jobs for so long that I almost have like a mild PTSD of just serial applying for jobs. Especially, in Finland you have to do these cover letter things. Maybe they should stop doing that. I'm sure people are using AI to write all their cover letters now. AI is a fantastic writer, so like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, like, I honestly kind of don't, but it defeats the purpose of like the person writing it is the point. So why are we doing this anyway? So, you know, I was applying like so heavily for like this master's thesis position. And yeah, that's how I found it. But I actually had an interview that I applied for through, like, you know, I was like looking through all these job opportunities. I actually almost had a job in Helsinki, which is why I was so upset that I didn't get to go to Helsinki and I got stuck in Lappeenranta. But then I was like, I don't have to move and I hate moving, so it's fine. And then I made friends, like I said, so it ended up being fine. But yeah, I mean, in the US, like, I don't want to commute, you know, I'm really, like, working remotely is so important to me that, like, you know, I pretty much don't want to change my job at all. So I am coming from a place of, like, risk intolerance, and, you know, I do compare myself maybe to, like, some of my friends, and I'm gonna be honest, I know that, like, most of my friends are probably making more money than me, but at this point, I don't really care because lifestyle, because like I am still managing all the things I want to manage, so that's cool. But at some point, and maybe as my child gets a little bit older, I do want to try to like grow in my career, and I still haven't quite figured out what that looks like, so I'm gonna keep thinking about that. But yes, so I guess my point is the process is like not that much different as people like to act like it is. I know somebody was like, oh, the interview questions. Yeah, I think in the US people tend to be a bit more like arrogant, you know, they're a lot more like trying to like, what do I call it? I forgot the word. Front. That's the word. They're like fronting. They're like showing that they're so great and this is like important. Whereas in Finland, like humility is a lot more important, so you don't have to like front as hard and it's fine. But like at the same time, I don't think it's significantly different because the whole point of a job interview is to talk about these are the things that I've done and this is how it's related to this job. So like this to me is more of like a factual thing than me needing to act like, ooh, I'm so much better than I am. It's like your resume is going to say how good you are and they're going to know that going into the interview. You just have to explain it and be a real person. To quote Arthur, or Crazy Arthur as I call him, the guy who helped me with all my essays, they want to meet a person. So this was for all the essays I applied for, and I've thought about trying to do videos talking about these essays, but it's the same thing. And I talked about this yesterday, but like I went to this networking thing where they, you know, it was a motivational speaker like talking about like basically like having confidence in all of these different situations. And it's funny because I just started thinking about like enunciation and trying to speak better while I'm presenting, and then it always like completely wrecks my train of thought. And I get a lot of comments where it's like, can you slow down when you're talking? And I don't understand you. And it's like almost impossible for me, and I know it's a problem. Okay, yeah, but anyway, like, yeah, be yourself. Like, it's the whole being yourself, everybody else is taken. But, like, honestly, it's just, like, be yourself. It's just easier. Like, it's easier for everybody, including the person evaluating you, including yourself. So, I think it's more about just, like, showing who you actually are rather than just, like, trying to be all, like, pretending you're something else. Again, it's frustrating for literally everybody in that equation. So don't do that. Don't do that in your job. Don't do that in your professional life. Just don't do that in general. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I have. So the point is, it's really not that different. I'm speaking a little bit outdated. We're talking like 2 to 3 years back, but it's like goal setting. Like if you try hard enough and if you want something bad enough, you can get whatever you want. I need to tell myself this right now, because there are certain things that I really want in my life that I'm not getting, and I'm getting kind of like angry about it. And I'm like, you need to try harder. And it's like, how much harder can I try? But you can do it. So yeah, just trying to get everything together. It'll be fine. I mean, I really need to look back and even just think about the longevity of this channel and how much of this channel is about like housing market, this, that, nah. And now that's done. I can just like chill with that. You're going to keep looking for something until you find it, whatever that is, whether that is a home, a job, a relationship. To me, these are pretty big commitments, all of those. A car is a big commitment too, relatively. So yeah, what's a bigger commitment, a car or a relationship? To me, same. No. But yeah, so just like keep trying. That's all I have to say. It's only, you are your biggest obstacle, and everything is only as impossible as you think it is. So I'm sure it's possible, but you might need to get a little bit more creative about how you're going to get it. So is it really that different? The point is, no, it's not. It's like a little bit different, slightly, and because of the hidden job market thing. But other than that, my experience has been it's really not that different. I mean, yeah, there's like a little bit of like prejudice towards like international people. We all know that like every country has its own racist issues, so to act like Finland has significantly more issues in that regard than the US, I'm a little skeptical. Maybe it's slightly true, but like at the same time, you never know. You also like to think that people who are more educated and who are hiring you for these things are going to be less like discriminatory in that way. I know the US has like affirmative action, but does it really work? Don't know, because people are still people and people are still subjective and come from their own background. All right, whatever. So hopefully this was interesting at the very least. And I guess my point is, if you're trying to look for a job in Finland, don't give up and just get more creative about your networking. That's everything I have for today. Until next time. Bye.